Before you ever made any money, you learned how you felt about it.
And most of that didn't even come from you.
Today, we're unpacking the money story that we have before we even knew that we had one.
Hey y'all, I'm Tinesha Davis. This is Fun and Budget. And today, y'all, we have a treat. I am in LA visiting one of my longest lasting, still staying in friendships. Whoa. Oh my goodness, one of my oldest friends. How about that?
I don't know if that's any better, but we'll take it.
One of my oldest friendships. All right, hold on. We've been friends a long time.
That's right.
We've been friends a long time.
That's right.
Okay. Brooke Sidney of Make Miracles Manifest. Y'all, we are going to have great conversations today. But I also want you all to go over to her YouTube channel where you're going to get more information on how to manifest your best life ever. Okay? Let's talk about it. All right. So let me say this, guys. Again, we've known each other since our early 20s. Right. What brought us together was a book club. We were in the same book club. Right? Yes. Anybody who knows Brooke Sidney knows she has a passion for the written word. She always had a passion. She has a passion for reading, learning, studying, just all of the things. So it is a... How else will we have ran into each other?
That's right. Writing and reading have been a shared passion, goal, love for both of us.
And when I think about it, the funny part about it, honestly, I'm just thinking about this. Who I am today, a lot of the things I'm into today is because of freaking you. Did you know that? Don't you dare say yes.
No, I'm about to cry.
Think about it. I snowboard, I ski. You, because you was a skier first, and I went on my first ski trip with you.
That's right.
My introduction to spirituality, that was broader than Christianity because all I knew as far as religion was concerned was Christianity. So my introduction to a broader scope of spirituality, you know what I mean?
Right.
Metaphysical,
That's
the metaphysical world.
That's right.
And everything. So I feel like you're right. We walked this parallel journey together.
Yes. Recently, I was listening to Michael Beckwith, the spiritual advisor of Agape, and he was saying even when he had some of his spiritual awakenings, he was alone. But then when he found that one person that could understand him, they had been walking this path together. And I feel like she is that person. You have been that person for me because I was so sad when I left DC because I left my soulmate. And I mean that in the sense that someone that understands your soul, because we get each other even when we're not even speaking. Yes. And we're into the same things. So it has been a pleasure.
Yes.
It really has. It's been a pleasure and a gift to have Tinesha as one of my closest friends. And so I'm hopeful for all of you out there too, that you treasure the relationships that you have and that you find the people that you're aligned with. Because it does... You know how to interpret me. I feel like I know how to interpret you.
We're going to get deep.
Yeah, we are. We're going to get deep. We're going to share. Ooh.
So let's get started.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Because we're really getting into the money story that we inherited, where our beliefs around money, finances, what's possible for ourselves, and of course, manifestation.
So this is almost like our money origin story.
Right. So I'm gonna hold her hand if I need to.
I think I'm gonna be good. I think I worked through a lot of this already. Yeah. But this may be some of your first time hearing these stories.
That's true. And I feel like the questions that we're asking of ourselves today are questions that you at home can be doing as well.
Yes.
So, Tinesha, what is your very first memory of money?
Child, that goes deep. And I say that because it's almost like you could say themes. things. It could be things. First money memory is this. This is the funny part. Or not funny. This is a part. This is what I know. Early on, I had my grandparents' house and I had my mom and my dad, right? In my mom and my dad's house, it was always lack. We get money on like the first. By the 19th, the money was gone. If we ran out of milk, there was no just go to the store to get milk. We had to wait to the first again to get milk. So by the end of the month, like me and my sister, we would become scavengers. We would have to climb on the counters in the house, just searching the cupboard for food, things like that. My grandparents' house, very different. It's what I first defined as wealth. Wealth for me, very early on, only meant that when the milk ran out, you can go buy another thing of milk. That was my dream. My grandparents were wealthy to me because if there wasn't bread, they would just go to the store and get more bread. And so that's just one of my I have a lot of early money memories. But yeah, I have a lot.
Well, that's deep. This is really good. I feel like I'm in money therapy right now. But I think that...
Oh, wait, can I say something?
Sure.
All right. So I've been Brooke Sydney's friend, like since our early 20s, right?
Yes.
We've been
friends. Like right after college.
Brooke was my friend who she came from the upper crust. She was skiing. She was just doing all of these bougie things. And so I feel like your early money memory should be rich and bougie. Go.
I think, see if it's true. You know, what's really interesting is that it's somewhat true. But as a child, my parents got divorced when I was really young. So my parents got divorced when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And I've had periods of my life where I never went without anything. My parents always lived in houses. But again, I've looked at certain points, I looked at abundance and money. I just felt it was like from two people in the same home. And at times, both of my parents did remarry and do different things. And so I felt like the dynamics around money were always shifting and changing. And I was never without. But one of the things that immediately came up when I started thinking about memory of money was that it was something that we didn't talk about. To talk about money was low class, right? If you have it, you don't talk about it. And I can even say as I got older and my mom was even by herself, money was usually only talked about when you needed it.
What does that mean?
So, as a child of divorce, right? I felt like in many ways, I know this is hard to say, but I felt like in many ways, money was like a pawn between my parents.
Okay.
So it was like, ask your dad for this or ask your mom for this and that kind of thing.
So that was the need. So if you needed it.
Potentially. Like that's one example of how it would show up. But so you only really talked about money if you needed it and you didn't have it, or I was supposed to go ask the opposite parent. So it was a very strained dynamic. And then I grew up not wanting to ask, right? So having money means you have it and you don't have to talk about it or think about it, which I've learned is one of the reasons why, like now it was such a new shift for me to be like, no, I actually want to think about it. I actually want to be intentional about it. But having money meant you didn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
And if you thought about it, that means you didn't have it or there was a problem with it, if that makes sense what I'm saying.
Just
right?
like I feel like when some people think budget, they think that if you have to do a budget, it must be because you're struggling.
Right.
You know, which we taught ourselves to think differently about that. It's not because we're struggling. It's because I want to be in my money business. I want to know where's my money going, what's it doing, what's it talking about. And I want to make it something that we can talk about out loud. Because like you said, I feel like I've just witnessed people, like my grandparents, let's say my grandparents, for instance. How is it that they just have money to go buy bread? Mm. Why is it that my parents don't have money to go buy bread? Mm. You know, we have to talk about these things.
Yeah, and it was like, I grew up not really having to look at price tags, right? And if I, was like, oh, we can afford it, like that kind of thing, especially with my dad and so forth, and even my grandmother and so forth. I was always in environments where people had things, and I am very, very thankful that as a woman of color, that I had models and I was around Black people and so forth that had money and that had means, you know what I'm saying? And I know that people don't grow up with that. It also gave me a fear of not having too, right? So there's always a money story. I think too, whether you grew up having it or you grew up being around it or you didn't, right? And how that translated into, our own personal, I feel like, money stories.
Yeah. So
it's kind of a question that's aligned is, what did money represent in your household growing up? It's a very aligned question.
Yeah. I felt like money, if we had it, would have represented freedom. Now, here's the thing. And the apple never falls too far from the tree, right? And when I say that, I'm not even thinking about the apple of my parents. I'm thinking about the apple of who I was then and who I am now. Who I was then. That tree, because I can see signs. Like, for instance, one time, I always been like active and a participator. I would find stuff. I always was led by curiosity. So when I was little, I would just walk around the neighborhood finding things. I was on so many teams and so many clubs. Never knew that these things cost money. They would just let me be in them because I was just so outgoing and stuff. As an adult now, I see like, oh, there were fees to be in a 4-H club. Oh, there were fees to be on this softball game.
That's right.
On this softball team. So one time, 4-H club, for instance, I'm in this 4-H club. Nobody's paying fees because we ain't got no money to pay fees. I ain't even know. I just thought this stuff was just ugh. So I'm just involved. So involved that they have sleepaway camp, 2 weeks sleepaway. And it costs money, apparently, right? But they was like, oh no, we just want you to go. So you're going to go on a scholarship. So I go to this camp on scholarship. But the crazy part about it was this whole camp that cost no money. My mom, my parents, let me not put it just on my mom because I had a dad too. He had a problem though. So, but they could not afford to get me a swimsuit. So I had an old swimsuit and they gave me safety pins to safety pin it up on the side. My mom couldn't afford to get me a relaxer, African Pride. It cost $3.95. And she thought she was going to be able to get it from me. And she didn't. So she pressed my hair. So for the first day of camp, I was so cute. But then as soon as I went to the pool, it was a wrap. My mom sent me to camp with a comb, but not a brush. Because we only had one brush. And, and so it's those little things. And I think I had like $3 for like the canteen and stuff. And then 4-H club is a very white club. I don't know if you know that. So I was at camp with a bunch of people who did not look like me, but they accused me of taking their money. And I did not. But I was accused of these things because from the outside looking in, I probably looked like the little girl who didn't have money, who didn't have anything. So if my money's missing, she took it, things like that. So I think that, what was the question again? What did it represent in the household growing up? It would have represented that even if I was able to get these beautiful free experiences for myself, that we could have at least supplemented them with the things that I needed to thrive in those experiences. It's almost like the kid going to college. You go, you get a scholarship, but your family doesn't even have the means to give you what you need so that while you're in this college getting higher education, you don't have to worry about, Right. So, yeah.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I when I think about what money represented in the household growing up, to me, I think it meant a lot of almost in a different way, a lack of freedom
Mm-hmm.
because you in order to, I feel like great grandmother had education, Hampton, all of these things. And so everybody has been successful. And money means having success. Money means not having to, again, worry or think about money.
Time out.
Huh?
Time out. Your great grandma went to Hampton?
Yeah, she's one of the founding. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But with that came the financial, the pressure of you must live up to this. You need to follow in those kind of footsteps. I always knew, and I talk about it a lot with my book work, is that I grew up with my parents, specifically on my dad's side. I'm gonna be truthful. Truth is the truth. Where you're gonna be poor if you pursue your dreams of writing and you pursue your, and so I have a book agency that makes good money, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got my master's, and again, it was like, you're going to be poor. When are you going to get a real job? Didn't even come to my master's graduation because my parents, specifically my dad, did not think that was going to be a viable financial thing. So in my family, when I graduated from Duke, my grandmother, again, same lineage, because I had a degree in political science and women's studies going to Duke, a liberal arts school, I must be a secretary, even though I was a marketing manager.
Mm-hmm.
So money, success, all that stuff, it had to come in this certain vein.
Mm-hmm.
It had to look a certain way. And only until I went to law school was I feel like even halfway respected.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I grew up under these pressures of how things are supposed to look and what you're supposed to do, and I think money or having money or coming from a family that had money, it puts you in a box. Like you said, the bourgeoisie. Well, bourgeoisie are like all, and do these things. They don't do those. They do X, they don't do Y.
Yeah.
Right?
Until they meet me.
Right. Or me. And I'm just like, oh well, like I bucked the system. Or you know what I'm saying? Like I decided that this is what I wanted to do and that I can't live in the shadows of what somebody else, your parents, your great grandmother wanted you to do. And I don't even know if my great grandmother would actually say that. This is things that have been passed down, and of course, it's how we all individually put things together in our own minds, and hearing things from our childhood, right? Because we're interpreting them as from 5-year-olds. But still, it was pressure not to mess up. Like there wasn't room to mess up. There wasn't room, or you're going to be poor. I mean, so it was literally like
the
poverty felt scary.
Yeah, the pressure of being perfect.
That's right. That's how it felt.
The perfection.
That's how it felt.
And then it's like, and that creates anxiety.
And I am nowhere near. None of us are. You know what I mean? But I would definitely say that.
So that's so funny because it's like we're two bookends. Like where you had that, I had no expectation. Like nobody expected much of anything, but it gave me the freedom to just do whatever I wanted. And because I am who I am, I was going to participate, find out, learn, inquire. Like I never felt like, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that.
Right.
I did with no guidance, which might have been a good thing. Right? Because I didn't know what I didn't know to be afraid. But it also gave me a lot of favor because of my neighborhood. Like if I grew up in your neighborhood, it might have been probably would have been different. But in my neighborhood, because there wasn't a lot of people who looked like me, who had that same ambition, the same, who wanted to participate, I was a gem. Like they,
Yeah.
And so therefore, it gave me a lot of favor because it's like, okay, we want these kids to do this, but don't nobody want to do it. But look at her right there. We're going to pay for her to go do it.
And in my situation, I mean, I did well and all those kind of things, but it didn't matter whether I was Miss Teen of Colorado, teen president, or, all the things, 100% scholarship. It was expected. That's what you were supposed to do.
Yes.
So what, you got a full ride to USC. So what?
So yours was expected, but mine was like,
it was like
celebrated.
Right,
because
exactly.
It was like, wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, deep. When did you first, what belief about money did you inherit without realizing it?
I think I inherited some great beliefs about money. But I did realize it because I was always observant, because I always wanted to be a writer. So my job for myself was to just observe so that I could write about it, right? So one of the things I felt like I observed, again, was my grandparents. They were my greatest examples because my grandmother, like for instance, when I was like around the 5th grade, I went and lived with my grandparents. And I told her I was being joked in school because I didn't have name brand clothes, right? But my grandmother was like, well, we're not going to go and spend a bunch of money on these name brand clothes. What I'm going to do? She was probably the first bootlegger. What was it? The counterfeiter. She took labels off of clothes she already had and sold them onto my clothes. And nobody knew the difference.
I love it.
Nobody knew the difference. And then she would also make me clothing. And one time I needed a coat. She saved up money, change, to buy me a coat. So it just taught me saving a penny, saving a dime, it adds up. And eventually you can buy what you need with it. And then it made me think about how my mother saved up, right? I could have had a $3.95 perm. Right. Little things like that. So I think that's why I became an oversaver in my life, But I always felt like, wow, if I save up, when I want to do something, it'll be there. The money will be there. So I got that from my grandmother. Also, even when we look at something like today, I pin curl my hair, right? My grandma used to do that but she used to do it with brown paper bags and wrap my hair around it. And so just that thing.
I think the good, thing about good money that I think I inherited is that I did always think that I could have it, right? In that same way of that I'm supposed to have it.
Yes. Then
I do believe that I can have it and that it's going to work out for me.
Yes.
I do definitely believe that, and I see why, you know what I mean? And I think that it makes me more, I think it was easier for me to dream that things were possible, right? Like, it wasn't like coming from, well, do I think that I couldn't do it? Because I know a lot of people think about it in that way. And I know that my background gave me the environment and the thought process, pressure, all of it, but it rounded up to like, no, I can do this. I can have this.
Yeah.
I deserve this.
Yeah.
This is mine to have. They can have it. I can have it.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what color people were. That was one thing I realized, that I know a lot of people have a block, especially people of color, because they weren't around people that had. And so I was like, my family had it in, 1800, whatever, from a long time ago. And just because they have it, then we deserve it.
Yes.
And stuff like that. And I think deservability and worth and all of that really plays a lot into money mindset and the amount of money that we have or think that we can have. And so even now, my goal is to continue to stretch, again, what is possible for me, my family, and so forth.
And that's where I'm at right now, too. With all that I've achieved and did, I'm in a period where it's calling for me to stretch, to take it to that next level. I have to stretch, because what worked for me 2 weeks ago when I had a job is no longer going to work for me. It's no longer serving me. Right. So, yeah.
So when did you first notice that money carried an emotion for you?
All right. Oh, what I know for sure is money is energy.
Yeah,
money is energy. Ooh. Period. It's not real. It's not real at all, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that happened that did not make sense at the time, but I can see it now in hindsight, was when I bought my first house. You were there.
I was there.
When I bought my first house, I bought it after I got out the military, so I didn't have a job. But I didn't care. It
No.
was like total faith. Like total like, it feels fun.
And we prayed you out the military. But that's another whole story.
That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. I know. And I had a partner then. I had a boyfriend then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were living together. And he had a job. Then I think I was gonna be a writer, but then I think I got a job. I don't know. But it just felt like I didn't have a lot of pressure to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Then when we broke up and the house was just me, I'm in the house and I got to pay all the bills.
Oh, that's right. Okay, it's coming back. That's coming back. Right, because he moved in with you. I remember.
Yes.
Okay. I do
and
remember
so
now.
I got to pay all the bills. Now, mind you, I got all the money to pay the bills. But somewhere in my mind, there was a block. And the block would not allow me to look at my bills. I wouldn't look at bills. It was almost like an ostrich. I put my head in the sand. And this is where I was saying, my son would know, because this is how I would find out that I had some bills. The lights would just get cut off.
Ooh.
Yeah, the lights would just get cut off. Because I didn't want to face anything as if I didn't have. So that's when I knew money was more energy than reality. Because the reality was I had the money. But the block was I have nobody to fall back on, or, I have nobody. What happens? What if something happens? And it just put me in this place of fear that I would not face my reality when it came to things that required money, like paying my bills and everything. So yeah, did I answer the question?
Yeah, I first noticed that money carried emotion.
Emotion for you. Yeah. And so just that emotion of the breakup, the loss, and all of that was the emotion of, I guess it gave me a scarcity mindset, the money, even though I had the money, but I had the scarcity, which made it so that, I wouldn't face my reality of opening bills, paying the bills. I'd be like, oh, lights got cut off, let me go pay the bill now, because, so, yeah. But I just remember that being a very real thing for me that I had to work through.
That's good. I'm trying to figure out which one to pick, which one to share. I feel like after college, I moved to DC. I lived in very expensive. I've lived in like all the expensive cities, like DC, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, But I remember just being a new grad kind of and trying to figure it out amongst relationships, all the things that were happening. And I felt ambivalent, like how you were saying you weren't looking at it. I felt like I wasn't, and maybe it's the same thing. I wasn't really thinking about it because I was going through, I may have talked about it on another episode, but I was going through the motions of just paying for things. That's when I realized I didn't really have a relationship with money. I had a relationship with responsibility, right? And duty. I'm paid for the things, I'm going to do the things, but I'm not really owning it for myself. Do you know what I mean? Creating my own thing. And that's when I feel like I started like opening the crack of the door of like talking about money. I realized that I wasn't comfortable talking about money at all. I wasn't comfortable asking for help. I wasn't comfortable.
And so going back to the childhood.
Right. I realized, I don't even know if in my 20s, I don't even think that I had put those together.
Yeah, most times
I don't think that I had.
Yeah.
But I realized that when I realized, and this is kind of a good thing, I realized that when I open up a crack or when I just turn on the light a resource, God, spirit, however you want to think about it, provide something for me. Because even when I was trying to, at one point I worked 2 jobs after college, which was kind of embarrassing.
See, that's
right? Like, because I was doing marketing and I was doing something else, but I lived in this very expensive city. So I remember doing that. And as I was saying, one of my girlfriends who was 10, 15 years older than me, she was like, no, you need 2 checking accounts. You need, so you're not always worried about what's coming in and what's going out. And I said, that felt like relief because once again, I was taught if you think about money too much, you don't have any. So the goal is to not think about it. So I was like, ooh, there's a relief. Okay, I have 2 checking accounts. Now I can safely
Yeah.
put this over here, put this over there, and I don't have to think about it. I'm good.
Yeah.
So I realized even then that was kind of the emotion that I had attached to it. That it's something that's just, I don't want to say people without it are thinking about it, but it's more like you've achieved a good place with it when you're not constantly thinking about it. Versus today, I know that wealth is engineered. And that the more that we think about it, even if it is solidly once a month or whatever, when we're doing the transfers or doing the things, setting up automation, it's still something that we've thought about consciously, intentionally, and kind of with our hearts about what we want it to go. Versus like, how do I navigate it so I don't have to think about it, kind of thing.
And it's interesting because thinking about money is one of my happy places.
I know. She has a whole channel, y'all.
Yeah. So my whole thing is the more I have, the more I even like thinking about it some more. And I like not needing it as well, but I like playing with it.
But that's so interesting because it's almost like your interference, your touching, whatever, you saw it giving you more. And I never saw people touching intentionally, whatever, creating it, just having it. So it seemed like if you're doing all this, right? So it makes so much sense as we're talking about it, right? Like how we've evolved with money, with our childhood stories around it, and what we saw. Like, that's deep. Yeah. Okay, so this is very similar. What belief did you have to consciously unlearn as an adult?
I don't know what belief I had to consciously unlearn. Because I feel like I had great beliefs about money. Because, I brainwashed myself. But I do remember, I did. Money is, I loved it. But I do know that there came a point where I had to start retraining myself on how to get my financial education together. And that was around when I was 40, around when I started the channel.
Right.
So I because for me, I said, I make good money. I bring in a lot of money. I said, but I really didn't feel like I had anything to show for it. Yeah, I wasn't even contributing to a 401k.
You had house or houses, though.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I just did things, but I didn't intentionally do things.
That's right. Okay.
Even getting a house, it was because I needed someplace to live, so why not get a house? That feels fun, So there came a point around 40 where I was like, okay, now let's learn about money.
That's right.
And here we are.
Right.
So I would say I didn't have to retrain myself on anything, but I did have to learn more tools, pick up more tools and exercise them.
I agree with you on that. I think that one of the most helpful things that I've had to consciously unlearn or learn in this case is that, to me, money is neutral. Right? It's just like everything. It's what we give the meaning to, and it's our relationship with it. And it can change at any time. And that there is no shame in wanting money, okay? There's no shame in talking about money. And there's no shame in, like, growing my financial education. And so that's what I have been working on myself. Is I've created my own financial curriculum around the things that I want to grow. And although manifesting money is one thing, receiving it, allowing it, keeping it,
yes.
But multiplying it is its whole other thing. And so that's one of my number one financial education curriculums that I have drafted for myself. I mean, I literally have a Google document that is my financial curriculum that I'm exploring because I want my money to have a job.
And the funny thing about that is, like, even on my channel, there was a point where I was doing my net worth updates. Even with my net worth updates, a lot of that was just to track to see how my money was growing on its own, without me doing very little. Because it came a point where I already reached the point where I didn't have to put another dime in,
right?
And the money was going to be enough to sustain me till death do us part,
right?
The older the better. But, so that was fun for me. Then it was like, okay, because I reached those goals, we don't have to talk about those goals anymore. As far as the net worth update. So it's like I still have them. I just don't share them on the channel anymore.
Right.
But yeah. So, but now being outside of a 9 to 5, my new thing now is I still want money to flow in, not because I need it, but because I think it's so much fun and I want it to come in new and exciting and interesting ways. And so that's what we're working on now. That's what I'm manifesting now. I don't have a plan just yet, but a plan is a plan, and the apple is still the apple, and the tree is still the tree.
That's right.
I'm the tree.
So,
and the apple.
How do you see that early conditioning, still showing up for you today?
This is what I think. I feel like I take it all, the good and the bad. Like all of the examples that I have through my parents and my grandparents, they've all come together to create great lessons for me. Even in the lack, even in the evictions, we've had these evictions, but even that informed why I want to have a paid off home. That's my latest goal, to pay off my house, even though I don't have a job, but it's going to be paid off because it's my desire. But I knew how I was going to pay it off with a job. That was easy.
Right.
Now that I don't have that 9 to 5 consistent income, it's like, okay, but it's still my goal to have the house paid off. And we're so close. I only owe like about $75,000 on the house, right? But people say, and I say that because I've always gotten feedback on the channel with people saying, well, why would you do that? Because the interest rate is only 2.25%.
It's freedom.
Yeah. But they're like, with such a low interest rate, think about it. You can't even borrow money at that interest rate. So why not use the money to fund other things, whether it's business ventures or whatever, rather than paying off a house? But for me, the goal to pay off my house is more of an emotional goal than this makes the best financial sense goal. It's a goal because I have a grandparents who had a house foreclosed on. Growing up, almost every place we've ever lived, we were evicted from. So this is just one of those things like, this is me overcoming all of that. Not just for me, but for my family and my legacy. The house is paid off. Because we can. Because there's so many people who see something as big as a house. Like that usually is the biggest purchase most people will have. But they can't see themselves realistically paying it off. Or they think it has to take 30 plus years. And I say plus because every time you refinance, you're adding time. So they see it taking all of that time to pay off. I don't want that to be our truth. I have to be an example of something different. So yeah,
I love that. I really do. I think that's deep, and I feel very similar in I feel like my own role, because I saw where, to me, financial stability and all of that, it meant you were married, you were in a house, you were, you know what I mean, this nuclear family, and the women of the family that ended up divorced, they're usually the people that are working all the way to the end. My mom, all these people, they worked until they, you know what I'm saying, for the most part.
Yeah.
So on both sides of the family and stuff like that. So I feel like it's about redefining what money, wealth, abundance, and all that stuff looks for me.
Yes.
And very similar to how you're saying, like some of it is emotional. Some of it is just that it's like, wow. Yes, I'm excited for the partner that I'm calling in, this amazing man into my life kind of thing. Yet and still, my financial abundance and worth and so much does not require that.
Yes.
And it is our job, I feel like, to be able to pass on to our children. So that is something that is very active. And my son does have things, but it's just continuing to make it more and more abundant. And that it doesn't require a partner.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, so just deconstructing a lot of the things I feel like as women we have been taught.
Yes.
Always waiting until, wait to get the house. And I've, bought house, sold house, all that stuff, but waiting until you get the partner to get this thing, or waiting to do the trip until you have the person,
Yeah.
It's all about, I think, redefining what all of these things mean for ourselves.
For you.
Exactly.
For you.
Exactly. And
And
I feel like that's
questioning why. Like whatever you
Yeah.
find your truth is or what your belief systems are, just challenge them a little more. Why? Why do I believe this?
Right.
Why do I believe that? You know, and what's truly serving you? Is that belief serving you? Your belief should serve you.
That's right. Yep, they should serve. They should, and it's something that unless it's examined or made aware of, you can't grow it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So whether it's our money, whether it's our personal development, whether it's changing the way that we think about ourselves, we have to examine it first and be honest, even when it's hard. So I really appreciate you being honest. You know, us sharing and having this conversation because you make me think about things that have happened in my life differently and reflect on them. And I just appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you.
I know.
Well, guys, that was Introduction 101 to our money stories.
Yes.
And don't forget to visit both of our channels.
Yes.
Wherever this video is, I don't know yet. So whichever it is, go to the other channel.
That's right.
Visit. But that's our money story. And we ask you to take a look and examine your money story, your money origin story. Okay? Because this is where we do the work of healing. And whatever we heal, that's where true change and growth comes in.
That's right. And we cannot heal it without looking at it. So in the comments below, drop us a note and let us know what story of ours sparked something in you. Share one of your money stories below.
Yes.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for being here. Until the next time.
Peace.
If money feels emotional to you, there's probably a reason.
Yes, and it's probably older than your first paycheck.
The shade. No. Right? Ooh, that hit. That hurt. Okay.